see the first slide is written workplace trends. So we start by saying, what are the workplace trends? And we say that trends in the workplace are anticipated business transformations that will develop and grow over time. These predictions are helpful because they enable us to get ready for the coming changes. In other words, workplace trends are things that are within a business. They keep on developing, or they keep on evolving, or they keep on growing over time. And they are very important and very essential because they help you to be able to predict your business. For example, this period since 2020, after 2020, we are talking of post-COVID. And when you talk about post-COVID, we are talking of, there are so many things that happened post-COVID. And these are the things we are saying, the trends that have grown, the trends that have evolved, the trends that have been able to mutate. And so we are going to look at some of them and see how are they impacting on business? How are they impacting on the way that people work? So let's go to slide number 3, that Moses can project it. And we begin by saying that one of the trends that has happened is what we call the virtual reality for work. Virtual reality for work. Minutes. So we have what we call virtual reality for work. And on this one, we say that virtual reality is a great way to improve corporate communication and enhance employee engagement. All right? So unlike video conferencing, it allows employees to inhabit the same space and manipulate data in real time. Virtual reality also provides extraordinary global connectivity, and it impacts so much on the human resources world. So this is one of the things that we are talking of, a trend in the workplace today, that people now are able to enjoy virtual space, just like we are doing here. We are in different locations, and we're able to join together and be able to deliberate. So this is a reality that previously or some years back was not very much appreciated or was not very much in use, but this is the reality that we are having today, and it is impacting on businesses in terms of how business operate, in terms of supplies, in terms of managing supply chain and all that. So virtual reality is something that we have to accept that it is happening, and accept that it is something that we have to live with. So that is one of the trends that have happened. The second one, that's the 4th slide, hybrid of work or hybrid work. Hybrid work is a flexible work model for many employees, which allows them to invest more in their work and improve productivity. So the key word here is flexibility of the work, a flexible work model. And the reason for this change is that employers all over the world are now understanding and valuing what employees want. Previously, something like a flexible work model was not very much known or was not very much in use. We are used to the, like, for example, the people who we are calling the baby boomers, who are born after 1990 and backwards. Those are the baby boomers. They know that work is 8 to 5. You report to the office at 8, and we expect you to clock 8 hours and then you leave. But when we talk of the trends in the workplaces today, we talk of hybrid work. We are talking of flexible work models, which allows the employees to invest more in their work and improve productivity. It's now more of productivity. When we so much talk about the 8 to 5 work, there are people you can ask what they have been doing for the 8 hours, they cannot be able to quantify it, because for them it's to report at 8 and leave at 5. But when you talk of hybrid of work, it means that we are talking of productivity. If I was supposed to produce 5 units in a day of a particular commodity or a particular item, it's not so much of the 8 hours I spend in the office, it's about, am I able to produce the 8 pieces? or the 8 units of work that I'm supposed to do. That's what we are talking of hybrid, that I don't have to report at 8 in the morning, but I still have to clock my units if I am to do measured type of work. So when we talk of hybrid work, we are saying it has changed also the way we see employment or the way we see workplaces, not just as places to be and close for 8 hours, but as a place where I only go to produce what I'm supposed to produce. Point number 3 says, it is only a myth that employees must show up to the office daily to add value to the workforce. Happy and engaged and satisfied employees can improve outcomes and reduce work burnout. Remote working also reduces our workforce physical footprint, lowering the cost of facility expenses. Actually, after COVID is when this kind of hybrid work came, when people are told to work at home, when people are told to work online. And the last point, we are saying that it reduces the workforce physical footprint, meaning some companies or some organizations had to close down some offices because they realized that they had 10 offices, whereas they needed only 7 or 8, or they needed only half of that. So it's the hybrid of work has also changed the trends, because when people are working from home, there are so many other things that also change. One of it being the way people interact, because now people are interacting or seeing each other on the space, only at space level. So hybrid of work is another trend that employers have to agree with, or have to contend with, or have to, adopt as a new trend that is emerging in the workplace. We go to slide number 5, and the third thing about the third trend is the well-being and positivity. Companies are now focusing on employee well-being and positivity so that they can be able to boost their morale. And this will be able to, by doing this, they'll be able to tap on the talent, and they'll be able to reduce the workplace. As you and I know, today's issues are so many. We are bombarded by so many things, left, right, and center, including what I was grappling with just before we started, the kind of technology. You wanted to do it this way, but the technology does not get the way. So we are having stress and things coming up from all over. So what we are saying is that the other trend that is happening in the workplace that has to be managed well is about the well-being of the employee. We always say that a happy employee and an employee that has wellness taken care of is also a productive employee. So companies are now realizing that we need to take care of the well-being of the employee and ensure that the employee is always and have a positive outlook. When an employee have a positive outlook, it means that his morale is high. And when the morale is high, he'll project a very positive image of a particular company. So their companies today are focusing on the well-being and keeping the employee being positive about the company. And there are things that we can do. In slide number 6, one of them is to teach employees how to be mindful of the present situation rather than to procrastinate about future project. So employees need to be mindful of the here and now, the present situation. And when we talk of being mindful of the present situation, we're also saying that you be proactive and deal with the issues for that particular day. One of the greatest sources of stress in the workplace is when employees or when workers procrastinate a particular project. And what happens is that this project keeps on laying a layer after another and another, such that at a time it clogs the whole system. So it's good for employees to be mindful of the present. What is to be done today should be done today, and any issues that are to be dealt with to be dealt with today. The second point that you can do on that about keeping the employee positivity is give them clarity regarding tasks to avoid employee burnout. A burnout is a situation whereby an employee, despite putting more effort to a particular task, there is no productivity. That's when we say an employee has been burned out, because even for him being in the present or in the area of work, there is no improvement on productivity. In other words, the employee is demotivated and he feels or she feels that he is not adding any value to the So we need to avoid getting an employee to a level of what we call a burnout, because a burnout, an employee who have reached burnout will not produce, and the company will suffer at the end of the day. We can also allow employees to have fun. That's why companies are organizing what we call a fun day, where they are taken maybe for a retreat or a break. Even within the workplace, they can have a break, and they can have what we call a team building event. Even within the workplace, you can do something that you work as a team, which brings the morale and brings recognition of other aspects within the workplace. So it's very, very important that employees have fun. We don't want people to work when they are angry or they look like they are not happy. We want people to be happy, because a happy employee is also a productive employee. And then we also need to deal professionally to deal with conflicts. When 2 or 3 people are gathered, a conflict will always emerge emanating from a different aspect of the line of work, all personalities. So here we are saying that the workplaces now have to come up with a way of dealing with conflicts professionally. And when you say dealing with conflicts professionally, is to be able to put everything on the table and to see who was aggrieved and why and where and how to mitigate this kind of conflict. So that in a workplace or in a workplace setting, we need employees to work harmoniously. We want to make everything well-rounded and well-grooved and well-smoothened, so that we don't have people getting hurt, either psychologically or physically. So when we talk of dealing with conflicts professionally, we are saying that we don't want employees to antagonize one another, and we don't want employees to live like they are enemies with one another. Another point is encourage team collaboration and social communication between colleagues, and allowing them to decompress, or allowing them to release the tension, or to release that stress that could be building up. So social communication is very important. And when you talk of social communication, we're saying how employees are able to relate with one another. For example, different departments should see each other as part of the conveyor belt. They're all working towards the same thing. They should not, accounts department should not see itself as very separate from maintenance department, or somebody working as a reception should not see herself as very separate from somebody who is doing operations. All of them should see each other as working in a conveyor belt. So social communication is very important. And then employers should also be able to train employees to stay organized. One of the best ways to achieve is to be organized. When everything is organized, it means that everybody knows what to be done after this, and what follows, what, where, and when, and also who is responsible for ensuring that a particular task is well executed. So organization, employers should train the employees to stay organized. You should also find reason to bring your workforce together and celebrate. I had said about fun day or team building events. And then another point is connect different departments and employees through business lunches and volunteer events. This is where companies also do what we call CSR, or corporate social responsibility. Go to the other slide. The other trend that has happened in the workplace is about digital transformation and artificial intelligence. Digital transformation has become an important part of every business strategy today. Most companies are using machine learning to predict things like absenteeism rates and candidates that fit into the workplace culture. So artificial intelligence is something that it's like now taking over in most of the companies. Very few can say that they're not using the digital, they're not appreciating the digital transformation or the AI. You can see it's even today being used to be able to select candidates even for employment. It is able to predict what is going to happen, for example, in sales, what is going to happen, what people will need in the next 2 years, what is the most preferred item. So artificial intelligence and digital transformation is something that companies have to accept and have to be able to tap on what is part of the trends we are talking about. AI can also be used to detect and alert human resources about skill gaps in the organization, and identify disengaged and engaged employees. Remember we said about the 8-hour work, the old age of saying 8 to 5. But you're saying that with the AI, you can be able to first of all identify the skill gaps, and secondly, you can also see the engaged and disengaged work, because there are some places you find people are also overstaffed. So you find there are people who are disengaged, there are those who are engaged. So with AI, it will help you to be able to identify this and place everybody where they need to be placed. Another trend is about the employee engagement. One of the most critical and beneficial workplace trends for the future is going to be employee engagement, ensuring that employee satisfaction can solve many problems, from lack of productivity and employee burnout to conflict and communication. So simple ways you can use to ensure that employees are, because if you don't look at this aspect of employee engagement, then what happens is that you have people who are not committed to the organization. When people are not committed to organization, they'll go out and project that negative attitude towards your suppliers, to your customers, to your clients. So this employee engagement issue is very critical, because you need an employee who is engaged, who will be able to speak positively about your organization, who will be able to portray a positive image about your organization at any point where they interact with the outer audience. And these are some of the things you can do. Number one, recognize your employees and their accomplishment. Yes, once they are able to reach their quota, once they're able to fulfill their targets, it's always good to recognize and talk about the accomplishment. This is a morale booster. Secondly, you can provide incentives and rewards for your employees to do better. Everybody wants to be appreciated. So once you appreciate and even provide rewards, and when I talk about rewards, most people think rewards is about money. It's not. Incentives and rewards are not just about money. It could be even a seminar organized on enhancing their skills, or it could even be even an allowance to undertake a particular course. So when we talk of incentives and rewards, it's more than money. There's something you can give somebody worth more than money. So this is what we are calling rewards and incentives. Furthermore, you can also engage employees by allowing them to express ideas and take the lead. Some of the employees you have very good ideas. And because they have the idea, you can also let them come up with a model of how that idea can be executed. And you'll be surprised to see some of these models and ideas are very practical. What they need is just to be looked at from the business point of view and accorded the necessary space, and they'll be able to execute it. Again, that is a benefit to the company. Allow enthusiastic employees to take leadership and evolve business strategy. So it's always good to harness any strategy or any idea the employee has, and see the practicability of it, and you can be able to use it to improve your business strategies. Moreover, it's also good to create a setting that will enable employees to interact and discuss options. Many businesses think that open workstation encourage better interaction and collaborative engagement. But what we're saying here is create a setting that will enable employees to interact and discuss. When we talk of open workstations, this is where we talk of the open offices, where everybody has a desk and you are all in one. And sometimes it is thought that when you have an open office, people are able to interact more. But what we are saying is that despite you having an open office, it's also good to create a collaborative engagement model that enables people to talk to one another, people to exchange ideas, and even to know what happens in another department. In most, in some workplaces where that is possible, they can do what we call, they're able to change or to rotate people so that they can know what happens in another department, so that you can get an idea that all of us are working together and we are working not to antagonize one another, but to support one another, right? Another trend, the sixth one, is about the gig economy and dual working, right? The current workforce primarily consists of millennials and members of Generation Z. And in addition to their professional objective, they actively pursue other interests. So when you talk about gig economy and dual working, we are saying You can be an employee working in a particular company like Capable, maybe an 8 to 5 job, but after 6 to 10 p.m., you go and do your own hobby, right? For example, you can be a DJ. So you work for 8 to 5, you go to an office, you work, and then after that, you go and do something else up to Sasita or City. So this is what we are saying, the gig economy. Previously, people used to just stick maybe to one particular item. I'm employed by this company, I'm satisfied. But today, people are able to work even for 3 different people, what we call freelancing, yeah? And or part-time jobs. And this is gaining popularity. In the developed world, this is something that they have grown up with. But in most countries, especially in Africa, this is where now we are appreciating that somebody can be able to work an 8 to 5 job and still go and do another job until maybe 11 or 10 p.m. So the gig economy or the freelance working and part-time jobs are gaining popularity as these working models give employees ample time to develop themselves to their personal interests. I started by saying that you can have your own talent and you can still be able to exploit your talent. Therefore, organizations would have to support these goals and ensure that staff get sufficient personal time so that you don't keep the employee from 8 to 5, but from 8 to 5, and you still want him to continue working up to 6 or 7. These are some of the things that bring what we call a burnout. So it's good to understand, and the workplaces and the employers have to understand that today we're also talking of the gig economy and dual working. Those are some of the 6 items that I had listed as the workplace trends. But this is not to say that those are the only one. I selected the ones that really touch in a broader level, but I also know the participants have other evolving or workplace trends that they have noticed. And before we finish, I'll give you a chance to also voice what you felt that I could have missed out. Yeah. Yeah. So far, I hope we are together. Any response? Any response? So I continue.
Yes, continue. From the chat, I can see people saying they're liking what you're saying and it's relevant.
All right. Thank you very much. Because of time, let's go to the next one about the emerging threats and maybe how to manage it. And we say to manage your workplace well, you need to stay on top of the latest trends in office management. If you're successful, not only will you be able to provide employees with a great workplace experience, you also help retain top talent and create the best space. Remember, sometimes ago we were training on customer experience, but here we are talking of employees having a great workplace experience. You and I could be, somebody who always talks negatively about their workplace. And they always say maybe a particular boss, a particular task. And when we talk of managing the office trends, we are saying that as an employer, you should be able to manage that workplace experience so that everybody, regardless of the tasks that they do, they should feel that they belong to the company, and they should feel that my workplace is a place that it is something that I'm happy about. That is something that needs to be reinforced to the employers, that make sure that every employee who enters to your gate or every employee who is on the HR list, employee list, should be able to be happy by providing simple things, as we are going to see here, that will make that employee, regardless of the task they do, feel I'm part of this. Number one, let's talk about talent management. Talent management. And when you see a talent is something that you're able to do perfectly well and probably even exceed the expectation, because always when an employee is given a task, there is a specification you're told how in general it should be done. but there are people who can do it exceptionally so well that it is noticeable from far. If I can just say a simple thing like sweeping, there are people who can sweep a floor and you see that that floor is swept, but there are those who will sweep and you see that floor is well swept. So what we are saying is that talent management, every employee in your workplace, how do you manage the talents that they have? The first question is do you even notice that they have a talent? Because we could be talking of talent management, but until you are able to even to notice that so-and-so has this kind of a talent, you'll not be able to manage it. Organizations should encourage innovations by embracing digitalization, as this enables organizations to remain updated. This means, that the right talent should be hired to manage digitalization very well. So hire the right talent for this purpose. Changes in technology may cause some positions to be obsolete, hence making employees irrelevant if they lack new skills. Embracing new technology makes organizations embrace changes, and employees will be forced to adapt to the changes. So talent management is one thing, and it's also important when organizations do this talent management, they'll be able now, even using the artificial intelligence, identify the gaps and also be able to project what are the most formidable or what are the most important skills that will be needed in the future and prepare the employee to attain them or even to provide avenues so that this employee can be there. This is what we call talent management, so that you don't keep losing employees and getting new ones, but you can be able to, the ones that you have, you can be able to polish, ensure that they are well polished. You can ensure that they are well grooved and they know what they are doing so that they can be beneficial to your organization. The organization may face a challenge of how to handle labor issues where there could be redundancy issues due to the use of technology, since the law protects the employees from being sacked randomly, but redundancy processes should be procedural. So in as much as we are talking about talent management, we're also saying that today's world of digitalization is also making some positions obsolete. It's also making some work processes that were very manual or were very repetitive to be done by machines or to be done using computers. So what we are saying is that in terms of talent management, the employer has to be very tactical on how to manage it, how to know how do I deal with a particular person. For example, let me use something on talent management and technological change. Those who have lived in Nairobi for some years back, you remember we used to have a bus company. It was a British-owned bus company. It used to be called a Stagecoach. And that British company used to have conductors who used to use a manual machine to pay the fare, the amount of money charged in the vehicle. And those guys stayed 20, 30 years doing the same thing, just issuing tickets. And there are those who never even took a step to take a driving course. So when the company closed up or would up its services in Kenya, those guys, some are in their 50s, others in their 60s, who never had taken maybe a driving course, they were like thrown out of employment. But for those who had taken a course maybe in mechanic or driving, they were still absorbed by companies in Kenya. This is what we are saying. Talent management. It's very important to know what will happen in the future, even including all of us that are in this meeting today. You should also be able to think, what I'm doing today, will I be able to do it in the next 2 years? Will we still be using this kind of webinar? Will we still be using this kind of training? Even myself, I ask myself, I am a trainer. Will I still be doing this in the next 2, 3 years? What will happen? What can wipe or make me obsolete? That should be something that the employer should ask. The employee should also ask himself or herself. The other thing that we need to think about in managing the trends is about workplace diversity. Employees are from different generations with diverse needs and diversity. In an organization, they come with, and in an organization, it comes in many ways, including gender, religion, personality, and age. So when you talk of workplace diversity, we are talking about all these things. But the most important one is about now the generational difference. I started by saying there are people who have grown up knowing employment is about 8 to 5 p.m. But now we have a generation that knows that I don't have to report at 8, I can report at 11, and by 3, nimemaliza kazi yangu, nimetoka. So when we talk of this workplace diversity, we're also talking now of, there's an element now of gender. There's an element of, and gender we mean is both male and female, and the issues that come with that. Previously, there are some companies which could only employ males, but now because even of what has happened with the constitution about the that gender rule, you have to involve everybody. So that's an issue that has to be managed in the workplace. So you have to manage it. The issue of religion, people have different faiths, believing in different things about the deity. And this makes all of us to be sensitive when you talk about a religious issue. Let's be sensitive. Let's not say like this one is better than the other. So that's a very thorny issue. So religion is an issue that we needs to be managed well in our workplace. Also personalities. We have different kinds of people. We have the extrovert, the introverts, and all that. We have people who are type A, who are very aggressive. We have the cholerics and all that. So personality issues are also things that have to be managed well in the workplace so that you capitalize on the ability and the capacity of the individual. And you also notice that different personalities have different things to add to the workplace. And we don't throw anybody below the bus or under the bus. And then there's the issue of age. You can see the issue of age is also coming with the change of education system. For example, like people of my age, we were the pioneers in the 844, and before 844, there are others who had the old system. Now we are having another change of system. We have now the CBC. So this kind of age is also coming with different education systems and different experiences in our learning. So this is also something that we have also to understand, that in our workplace, when you're handling somebody who is just have completed university, it's different from when you're handling somebody like me who completed several years back. And it's also different when you are handling those who will come after you. So that's something that you have to understand so that you don't group everybody in one box. You don't just share responsibilities equally. You also have to check the age of this person. Is this person able to handle this? The personality of this person, the gender and all that. The employer should come up with policies that guide the management and staff on issues related to diversity. In most workplaces now, they have a diversity policy, which ensures that regardless of religion, regardless of the gender, regardless of the age, we are able to accommodate different kinds of people. And when you embrace diversity, there's a lot to learn because different people come with different wealth of knowledge, wealth of experience. And if you're able to tap in this, your organization will be a very well, a productive organization and an organization that we call a learning organization, because everybody is learning from each other. And at the end of the day, you're able to achieve, the productivity is achieved because of this kind of synergy. Another thing that we are talking of how to manage these trends is about the issue of litigation. Litigation is about law courts or about cases going to the court. Litigation is the process of involving the court to solve a dispute. The court will make decisions in regards to the dispute aspect of the case. Sometimes employees may encounter unfair termination of employment. This is common, and individuals who are unaware of their rights and record their cases in court. So this is another issue that is now also in the workplace today about litigation. That because now maybe of, let's use like the COVID-19. COVID-19 made companies maybe to scale down production, maybe reduce the number of staff, and because of maybe of remote working or hybrid working models, to shed off some people. And there are people who will feel that that was an unfair kind of termination, so they'll go to court. So there's a lot of things. Another aspect is about maybe salary increment, and we always hear about organizations, the places where people are organized, or unionizable employees going to court saying that we were promised this, collective bargaining agreement was not done. So, and our workplaces today are also grappling with litigation issues that are coming from former employees of a particular issue. Let me give you some data here. Studies reveal that there has been an increased labor cases at the Employment and Labor Relations Court, whereby in 2010 and 2014, 500 and 2,000 cases were filed in Nairobi, respectively. I have not heard the data of late, but you can see the kind of cases. Just Nairobi alone, you find 2,000 cases are filed about employee and employer. This poses a great question if this is an indication that employers know their rights, or is it a sign of inappropriate implementation of the labor laws? So we are saying litigation cases involving an employer and an employee have risen up. And one of the aspects is that employees, they know their rights now. Or it could be that the employers are now trampling on the employees' rights and terminating them anyhow. So this is also another issue that needs to be managed well as a trend today, because as you know how the economy is today, if somebody feels that I'm going to lose this job, what then the next point of call will be a law court. That's why you have seen that we are including it as an aspect that need to be managed today in our workplace. The other aspect is about the trade unions. And most of you know several of them, and we have several of them in Kenya. I know the one of teachers is the one that is commonly known because it's always on the news for good and other reasons. Trade unions. This is an association that regulates relations between employees and employers. Over the years, trade unions have evolved and have become less radical. Initially, there were a series of strikes that paralyzed various sectors in the economy. So several years back, there used to be a lot of strikes about maybe teachers, about doctors, about workers in particular places. But nowadays, negotiations between employers and employees in the event of a strike do not take as long as they used to be. The Labor Relations Act has encouraged collective agreement to improve working. So as an employer, or every workplace have to know about, to be well versed about the Labor Relations Act. What does it state? What are the rights of the employee? What are the rights of the employer? And how can employer and employee live harmoniously? Because both of them are protected. The Labor Relations Act does not only protect the employee, it also protects the employer. And so we need to know, both the employer and the employee need to know where does the rights of each other end, because where the rights of each other end is where the rights of the other one starts. And if employees are well versed about the Labor Act and the employer knows about the Labor Act, then there will be, even when they're discussing about so many things that come, that deal with the workplace, they'll be reflecting on it, and each party will be able to do what they're supposed to do, and they're going to do it the right way. So trade union is another aspect that has to be managed today in the workplace. If not well handled, then it can be very costly to the employer. So it's something that the employer needs to know, and also the employee need to know that there's such a thing. Another aspect, or another thing that we need to manage in today's workplace trend is about child labor. Child labor involves children who are 15, engaging in work such as brick making, fishing, quarrying, hawking, mining, and other activities. Factors leading to an increase in child labor include poverty, lack of education, and change of family. Child labor should be controlled to prevent children from hazardous work and prevent them from working at a young age, which may affect their safety and health. This point on child labor, I know it may not really apply in a very official setting like an office, but it's something that you also need to know that it's something that we need to also understand, that it is an aspect, or it's a trend that we need to be aware of, because even if it doesn't happen in your office, or it doesn't happen within the organization you work with, you have always seen it, that children are engaging in brick making, fishing, quarrying, and all that. And this needs to be prevented. It should not be seen as normal. Sometimes when things don't happen to you, you may feel like it is normal, and you may feel like it is okay, or you may feel it is not very bad, because it's not maybe your sister's children, it is not your young brother happening. But when you talk about workplace, this is also a workplace that we need to think about. And we have seen these children getting engaged. What happens is that these children are denied their rights to be children. And when they are denied their rights to be children, what happens is that these children are also affected psychologically. And you know, a child of 15 years will not remain 15 years forever. So they grow up with this heart, and these are the same people, one time or the other, you and myself will also interact. You employ them in your factory, you employ them to run a few errands for you. And if they have this heart, then they carry that burden, they carry that baggage with you. So we should always advocate that children should not be allowed to work. Children should be allowed to be children. The only labor they should do is that labor they provide at home, which is well measured. But when it is in a workplace setting, just know that these children of 15 years, they are being exploited because they don't have a national ID, they don't have a voice. They cannot, they don't even know their rights. So they can't say, the work I'm doing, it's making me being denied a chance to education. It is making me being denied a chance to exploit my issues as a child of that age. So child labor is also an issue that we need to look at. So far, I think we are doing well. Let's look briefly at what I call the management of workplace threat. During the COVID-19 outbreak, we were all pushed into a state of change, whether we liked it or not. Everybody was pushed to a state of change. And from forcing employees worldwide to work from home and redefine communication in a crisis. You know, all these changes were just abrupt and they were like forced. But the good thing is that we all have a lesson that we learned when this happened. And as we talk of workplace trends, we have a lot of lessons, or we have a lot of things that we have adopted since 2020, because number one and most fundamental thing is that life has to continue. Despite the COVID coming, despite people being told to work from home, despite people closing shops and businesses, despite terminations, despite so many negative things that happen, life has to go on. So today we are talking of remote working. And we talked about this when we talked about new workplace, hybrid type of working. But the reason I'm bringing out this is because this remote working is also coming with its own challenges. And one of it is that remote working has also helped some people to have what we call work-life balance. Now they're able to spare some time to be at home and to be with their people. But it has also challenged some. There are those who are not able to do what we call work-life balance. Because you can work at home, people are working even at night still, but they're still working at home. So you find people are glued to their laptops or to their phones, still working even at home. So it has brought a challenge. The remote working has also brought a challenge because you know you can work anywhere. So any time is working time. Unlike the office time where you could close the office at 5. The other thing is that there is no good control over the workplace environment today. Because in the office, you had a good seat, and some of you even have what you call the orthopedic chair, but how many have it at home? So sometimes the workplace environment, which has transformed maybe to that remote working we are talking about, has also had these issues. One, like the sitting. Some people have issues with their back because to poor sitting or to poor ergonomics. The other issue is about temperature. In some offices, you have the AC where you could regulate. So there has been some, good and bad about this remote working. But all the same, we can say that we have been able to reap one benefit, which is an increase in productivity because of that flexibility. So the remote working is good, but it has also had its negative. But we can say that the positive are more than the negatives because we have seen about issues to do with productivity because of flexibility. We have seen that you can have a good number of people working remotely towards a particular project. So you're able to accomplish more. And then another thing is that with remote working, you are not confined to the 8 to 5. So that is one, remote working. The other one is about the hybrid workplace models. And we had talked a bit of it. The hybrid model had proven to be a popular, giving workers a chance to skip the commute and appreciate the days for themselves. Some companies have allowed certain employees to take full remote positions, like engineers and designers, while others are expected on site. So hybrid working models has enabled people to take full remote. There are people who never report to the office, maybe they report twice a month. So this is what we call the hybrid workplace model, which has transformed. You stay a month, you have not seen so and so, but he is working and he is productive, and he is even, like for example, designers. They are designing, the approvals are made, and the next thing you find is the item that they designed, and the next thing you find is that it has been implemented. So we no longer talk so much about on-site because of this hybrid. So what we should do is planning team building. We should be able to plan team building retreats so that the whole team can attend. Because what has happened now with the hybrid workplace model is that now people are more remote than ever. So an employer has to organize how these people once in a while can be gathered, maybe either on a retreat or a team building event, so that that harmonious working relationship and appreciating the dynamism that everybody brings can be utilized. So in as much as we talk of hybrid, we also need to know that employees working in a company should be seen as one unit. We should not see each other like just remote workers who are just producing what is expected. Number 3, we should also be able to make in-person meetings more intentional. What I mean by in-person meeting is when people now meet physically. Today, we are so much used to this kind of virtual meeting, including what we are doing here, but you should make in-person meetings more intentional. Company retreats can be curated to meet a company's specific needs, whether an annual team retreat or an end of the year party on building relationship, or a professional retreat outside the office that brings everyone together to tackle a particular project or subject. Yeah, so we should be able to make in-person meetings. Despite us having this virtual, it's also good to have in-person meetings, because when you have in-person meetings, people are able to interact. They are able to see how each other reacts to a particular issue, and it has some of the few benefits I'm going to say here. Number 1, it gives employees a chance to get to know one another on a personal level. Remember, we said we all have talents, and we all know something that the other person may not know. So when we talk of getting to know one another on a personal level, we are saying that when we interact is the only time you can know one another on a personal level and be able to learn several things from that person. It also encourages interaction, communication through conversation, and spontaneous activities. When people meet for a retreat, or when people do what we call team building, and you are doing that team building activity together, you'll be able to have conversations, see how different people think differently, see different solutions to the same issues by different people. So you're able to see and feel as part of the team. It unifies teams, which is essential for long-term growth. It's also a part of reducing stress. Yeah, remember sometimes when we work remotely, it's like you're working on a silo. So it's always important to have this together. It also makes employees feel valued. So in-person meeting is something that we should once in a while plan it intentionally, so that we, like for example, saying maybe after every 2 weeks, we should have a physical meeting where everybody should attend, so that we can still see even physically how somebody is doing. Number 4, let us use the communication tools to enhance employee engagement. We have what we call the newsletters or internal mail or notices to keep everyone in the loop and give employees a chance to get to know what their peers are doing in terms of updating one another. Some people use what we call Slack. This is a well-known tool, which is a great way to communicate throughout the day, while also providing options to start separate threads to help organize thoughts and tasks. A Slack is a messaging application for businesses that connects people to the information that they need. So it's always good to use all the communication tools. Today we have WhatsApp, we have Facebook, we have the SMS, we have the telephone. So let's keep the communication going on. Because one of the dangers of having the virtual space is also to alienate people. If we are not careful and we are not using these communication tools, you can have people doing a particular task alone without consulting one another. So it's always good for people to know, where can I get a particular information? And this information, how can I use it to enhance the processes I'm doing on my level? So let's use communication tools to enhance employee engagement. Another thing that we can do is to prioritize workplace well-being. Many companies have established dedicated mental health days, giving employees time to rest. Today, everybody is talking about stress. Most people are talking about being overwhelmed by work. People are talking of so many issues within the family sector. People are talking of so many things in the social sector. So it's always good to know that the mental health, the mental well-being of your employee is very, very important. And the people that are, for example, we can use that hospital, the people that are in Mathare Mental Hospital represent only a fraction of the people that are having a mental issues. Majority are out here. Majority are in your office. Majority are your colleagues. So when you talk about prioritizing workplace well-being, even a simple good morning of an employee and asking the employee, how are you doing? How is your morning? Or even how did your day end up yesterday? It will be able to open that person up, and it will make you to know and understand the frame of mind and the settings that that person is having, or the issues the person is having, and probably if you can offer help, do it. So employers are setting strict offline hours to help employees find a better work-life balance. Some of these issues are coming because people are not having what we call work-life balance. And work-life balance is knowing when to stop work, take rest, and then come back and continue. If people are not having work-life balance, they are getting burnout, they are having mental issues. So it's always good because to appreciate that there are employers who have dedicated some days offline so that people can rest and be able to re-energize and can be able to recoup or to re-energize themselves. Many businesses offer healthcare budgets that include going to the gym or giving a membership to the gym. So it's always very important. Wherever, if you work in a place that your employer provides a healthcare budget, to use it well. Wherever the employer provides incentives to go to the gym, it's always good to undertake it. Companies understand it's sometimes hard to find time outside of work to dedicate hobbies. So more and more employers are offering one day a month off so they can volunteer at the charity of their choice. So part of being well-being is even when you help others. For example, volunteering. We have so many children homes. You can volunteer. We have homes for the aged or home for the abandoned. You can volunteer service. And when you do that, it is part of your healing. You'll be able now to do something that is totally different from your work. And this is what we are saying, work-life balance. You're able to disengage sometimes out of the normal and routine to do something out of your work, and more so something that is also offering services that you don't expect to be paid. So it's always important to think about these things. Sometimes when we talk about workplace wellness or workplace well-being, people will always think in terms of when I get sick and when I take medicine. But when I'm talking about workplace wellness and well-being, I'm not talking about being infected with a disease and you take medicine. I'm talking of the whole personality and the things that keep on weighing down your health. And one of it being like this work-life balance. You overload yourself. And this I always say, sometimes even sleep. There are people who overload themselves. They don't have even time to sleep. And what happens is that over time, a simple thing like lack of sleep can predispose you to many other things. So many other things, health-wise. So it's always good to know when you talk of workplace well-being, it is something that employers have to manage well. If you want to keep your employees longer, if you want to keep your employees productive, it's always good to check for these things. And for the employees, it's always good also to know that they have a responsibility and a duty to know that their health is their responsibility. They need to know and to be on the lookout for those things that help them reduce their stress or help them to unwind. Number 6 is just like the previous one, create mental health days. Mental health days are part of well-being in the workplace. In addition to establish paid time off, more and more companies are offering an additional day, typically once a month, to let employees sit back and relax. Maybe schedule a message. Providing a mandated day off for everyone. So it's always good. The off days that you get in your office, they are supposed to also help you unwind. It's something that is supposed to make you see life in a different way. Because when you work Monday to Friday or Monday to Saturday, going to the same place, or if not going, doing the remote working, same thing. Yes, I'm just about to finish. Yes. Number 7, before I finish, is about continuing education. And here we are saying that instead of where the employers were expecting employees to come when they have a university degree or when they have a specific course, today we have what we call continuing education. So employers today are also providing incentives so that an employee can go and undertake a course or have what we call long-term learning models. Providing continuing education and promoting learning and curiosity in the workplace makes it easier for employees to identify gaps. So this continuing education, employers today are also initiating it to make sure that an employee is also conversant with this aspect. And I thank Capable for what they are doing, because they are bringing in different webinars on different topics, so that some of us who are not well versed in a particular topic, once we join, we're able to learn a thing or two. Number 8, we have what we call, it's important that today's employee or the workplace recognize what we call the soft skills. These soft skills boost morale and ensure that team members can work closely together. And these include collaboration and team-oriented issues, strong interpersonal skills. And this is something that every employer always says among the requirement is to have interpersonal skills, mentoring and guidance. You'll have maybe people working under you or with you, so you need to mentor them and you need to guide them. Critical thinking is about coming up with a solution that maybe you have not been thought before, or coming with a solution and applying it in a way it has never been applied, not the conventional one. Leadership skills, time management skills, and proactive skills. So these are what we're calling the soft skills. Other than just thinking about those hard skills or those things that we think they are bigger, we have the soft skills, which are the oil, or which is the grease that makes the moving parts in a company work. These soft skills, they are very important. And in conclusion, I say, organizations should formulate policies and regulations that enhance good governance. 1, as an employee, you should be aware of labor laws, and as an employer, remain compliant with labor laws to avoid costly litigations. Furthermore, it's also good to become knowledgeable in all things labor laws by registering for this labor law short course today. There are courses that are always offered. There is a lot of learning today, because the Labor Act, when we talk about workplace, is very, very important. And it's very important for the employees to know about the Labor Act. It's also very important for the employer also to be conversant with what it says as we manage the trends that keep on emerging in our workplaces today. And I beg to stop there.
Thank you so much, Joel. It was such an interactive and insightful session. So at this junction, I will welcome all the attendees to share with us any questions, any remarks, any place they would like clarification. Just raise your hand and I will respond to that. And yes, we're going to share with you the slides used today. And if you require a certificate, a link was shared, but I'm going to share again, where you can key in your details and then you'll get the certificate. And if you don't get the certificate immediately, try after an hour, and it should work. So right now, if you have any question, kindly unmute and ask. Yes, and here's the number and email address of the speaker, Mr. Joel Karanja. It seems we don't have any questions today, but I will read one comment. Someone is saying this has been a very educative session, and they're saying thank you to you, Joel. Others are saying it was a very interactive session. Yes. Thank you so much, guys, for coming. We're going to share with you the slides. And once again, if you have not got your certificate as of now, uh, try again in an hour. And if you don't have the link to get the certificate, you can use this. The code is there. Everything you need is there. Someone else is saying the session was good. Julian Kamau is asking, I did not get the previous certificate. Just use this link and use the code we had shared. Joel, there being no other questions or any other business, I would like to say thank you. Thank you so much for your time. Thank you so much for taking us through workplace trends. It was really interactive and insightful, especially when you talked about workplace that have things like gyms and healthcare plans for the workers. It's something to think about, and we can't wait to have you again. To all the people who attended this session, we also want to give our vote of thanks, and uh, stay tuned for the next webinar. Alex Dinga is saying, thanks for incorporating me. I'm in remote area at West Pokot. Well, that's interesting. We wish you all the best. And yes, the session is going to. We have come to the end of the session. We are welcome to live at our own pace. And yes, we are going to share the slides with you. Joel, thank you so much.
Yes. Thank you to participants. Thank you. I hope we all have learned something and we all can apply some of the things and we can notice any other aspect that we missed out. There's a learning. We're always learning every day. And thank you very much.
Okay.